Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So today we'll be going over patch 9.3, and this one has the big ADC changes or reworks or whatever you want to call it coming in, on top of also a bunch of other very large changes as well. So as usual, if you end up enjoying this video, then don't forget to hit that like button, and also this video will be made in collaboration with ProGuides. It's a website that helps you improve your overall League of Legends gameplay and knowledge that is now completely free to use. The link is down below, and I definitely recommend checking them out. So let's start this video by talking about the actual AD carry crit item changes and reworks, because that again is the biggest change of this patch. So let's start with the bigger ones first. First of all, we have Essence Reaver. Now this item is essentially being reverted back to what it used to be way back in League of Legends. So in other words, what that means is for 3200 gold, you'll get an item that gives you 60 AD, 20% CDR, 25% crit chance, and a unique passive where your basic attacks refund 1.5% of your missing mana. Obviously good for champions like Lucian, maybe Kai'Sa, but all in all, I think a lot of people are very happy that this item is back to what it used to be. But that begs the question, well, what happens to the current Essence Reaver that we have on the live servers right now? Well, it's actually going to be renamed Spear of Shojin. Now this item before used to be a bruiser item that Riot never actually released. Well, now it's coming out, but essentially as the current Essence Reaver were, for 3400 gold, you'll get 60 AD, 250 health instead of mana, 20% CDR, and of course the unique passive, this time called Awaken the Dragon, where after you use your ultimate, you get those bonus effects as per usual. But since this item doesn't give you flat mana anymore, no longer does it also give you that unique passive of every auto attack restoring mana as well. So essentially you're trading away mana for HP, which isn't really all that bad, but the part that kind of sucks is the fact that this item does cost a little bit more for giving a little bit less, since it now gives less AD. The reason behind this is because HP is obviously much more of a valued stat than some mana, so that kind of makes sense in a way, but it doesn't really feel like an AD carry item. It feels more like an item that, as usual, bruisers are going to just simply abuse. And the problem with that is the fact that it feels even better for bruisers specifically because it offers HP. So someone like maybe Jax or Riven, they obviously don't really care about mana, especially Riven. The HP will be much more beneficial, so this item is still going to be quite powerful on those champions. Moving along, we also have Cloak of Agility making a return, the item that costs 800 gold, giving you 20% crit chance. And if you are wondering why it's back, well, it's because Infinity Edge did get reverted, just like Essence Reaver, back to what it used to be, now building out of a pickaxe, a Cloak of Agility, and of course a BF sword. 3400 gold total, giving you 80 AD, 25% crit chance, and of course the unique passive where the critical strikes just deal bonus damage. A lot of people seem to be happy about this change because now it means you can rush Infinity Edge first, since that's what a lot of people enjoy doing. But this also means tanks might be a bit more difficult to kill, since Infinity Edge doesn't give you that true damage anymore. And this new Infinity Edge upgraded by Ornn will now have it give you 110 AD. But speaking of the crit items, let's next talk about the Zeal items, and starting off with the Kirch's Shard, or however we pronounce it, the overall cost on this item has been lowered by 200. So moving into an item like Rapid Fire Cannon, you'll notice that the critical strike chance is being lowered down to 25%, and you'll see this across all the crit items. The cost is also being lowered by 200 because of the Kirch's Shard, and that's about it. And it's pretty much the exact same story for Runaan's Hurricane, with the crit chance being lowered to 25%, with the cost also being lowered by 200 gold, and of course Static Shiv having a little bit extra changes where the crit chance also 25%, but the attack speed is increased to 40% from 35%, and the cost as well going down by 200. But then we have a little bit of a special scenario or case with the Phantom Dancer, because this item essentially got a rework, where for 2600 gold you'll be getting an item that gives you only 30% attack speed rather than 45%, of course the usual 25% critical strike chance, and unique passives that give you the following. The first of which is the one we already know and love, where basic attacking a champion grants you ghosting and 7% movement speed for a couple of seconds. But then the next one is part of the lifeline effects, which also means that you can't stack Phantom Dancer and something like Maw Malmortius together, but it offers you the following. If you were to take damage that will reduce your health below 30%, gain a shield that will absorb either 240 up to 600 damage for 2 seconds with a 1.5 minute cooldown. This is definitely an interesting change. I think it will be better for AD carries overall, but a little bit worse for split pushing dueling type champions like maybe Zed or I don't know, maybe Yasuo, also because it offers a less attack speed for someone like Yasuo. But then moving along, we have the Last Whisper items as well, which you'll see here. Now it has a new recipe for the base Last Whisper, just 2 longswords and of course 750 gold, making the overall cost increased by 150, but to compensate it does give you 20 AD rather than 10, and also now giving you 20% armor penetration rather than 10%, which of course is more than worth worth it, and this is to make up for the fact that Infinity Edge no longer gives the true damage. Moving along, we have Lord Dominic's Regard, which has now an extra 5 AD, and the total combined cost is lowered by 150 gold to make up for the fact that Last Whisper is just more expensive. And of course, Mortal Reminder also getting an increase in 5 AD and a decrease in 150 gold for the combined cost, also because of Last Whisper. And last but definitely not least, we have a rework coming over to Stormrazor. Now, since Infinity Edge is an item that AD carries can now rush as their first item, Stormrazor is no longer really serving a purpose, so it did get some major changes with the new recipe now building out of a Kirch's Shard, a Longsword, BF Sword, and of course the recipe cost giving you a total cost of 3100 rather than 2800, giving you less AD as well, less attack speed, but it now has a new passive where passively moving and attacking will make an attack energized, but it also has a unique passive effect called Storm where your energized attacks deal 50 bonus magic damage on hits, and on top of this your energized effects all have their respective effects increased by 30% and slow for 40% movement speed, decaying over 1 second. So in other words, this item combined with something like a static shiv or a rapid fire cannon will make them more powerful, which I think is a very interesting approach. But now that we got that out of the way, let's go into the champion changes very quickly. Starting things off, we have Aatrox where the HP regeneration growth is increased, the base HP per 5 is also increased, and his ability Umbral Dash can now only heal on champions, which I think is huge and a big nerf. No longer does it have charges, but the overall cooldown is much lower. An overall nerf for sure in my opinion. Moving along, we have the infamous Akali changes coming out as well, which I did talk about before, where starting things off, we have her base HP per 5 being increased by quite a bit to try and make up for the fact that, well, her Q ability no longer heals Akali, and her W's cooldown is being increased, and on top of this, no longer is she hidden from towers when shrouded. So you don't need a scientist to let you know that, while Akali is getting completely gutted this patch, so expect her to be utter garbage next patch. Next up, we have Cassiopeia getting a quick nerf coming over to her Q ability, where the total damage is being lowered, but at least the AP ratio is being increased, so her laning phase will be a little bit less obnoxious. But then her W Miasma, the mana cost is being increased as well to 110 by rank 5 rather than 70 at all ranks, and the damage is also being lowered. Overall, definitely some pretty solid nerfs coming over to Cassiopeia, which should definitely hit her quite a bit. Following this very quickly, we have a Camille nerf to her E ability Hookshot, where now it only stuns champions, which, if it doesn't work on Scuttlecrab, will of course be a slight nerf to Jungle Camille, but other than that, I don't think it's that much of a hit. But next up, we have more massive changes coming over to Aurelia once again. Starting things off with her base armor and HP per level both being increased, but her passive now no longer will it deal damage, or at least bonus damage, to shields. Because her passive got a mini rework where stacks now grant stacking attack speed, and at max stacks grant bonus damage on hits. The max stacks are increased from 4 to 5, and you can get stacks from minions as well. Then you also have her Q ability where the minion bonus damage is being increased, her W where the damage reduction is being increased by 10%, but also getting a mini rework where now the damage reduction only applies to physical damage. So in other words, magical damage will go right through her W, which will obviously make mid lane Aurelia against mages a little bit less impactful. So let me know down below what you guys think about the changes coming over to Aurelia once again. Next up, we have Lissandra, where a quick nerf is going to be hitting this champion, and thank God for that. Starting with her Q ability, the mana cost is being increased in this ability as you rank it up, but only by 8 mana by rank 5, so really not that much to be honest. But then you have her E ability Glacial Path. The damage on this is also being lowered as you rank it up by 40 by rank 5, which I also don't think is that big of a deal because you can just easily max your W second now. You don't really need to max your E. Next up, we have some nerfs coming over to Sion, and I'm a little bit surprised by this because at least personally, I haven't really been seeing Sion too much in solo queue, but regardless, the nerfs are as follows. Decimating Smash, his Q, the minimum damage and the maximum damage have both been lowered on this ability, and his W Sulfurness, the cooldown is being increased from 11 at all ranks to now being 15 at rank 1, and then finally going back down to 11 by rank 5. This is going to impact his laning phase a decent amount, and again, I'm a little bit surprised as to why Riot is even doing this because I personally just have not been seeing the champion. And last but definitely not least, we also have some very quick nerfs coming over to Zyra, and it's going to be towards her plants where the damage has just been overall lowered, and I'm not surprised for this one at all because Zyra's support at the moment is actually quite powerful because of the amount of pressure, aggro, and damage that her plants offer in the laning phase. It is very hard to deal with, and it is very aggressive. Thankfully for Zyra players, this nerf shouldn't make her complete garbage at the moment, but it is going to tone her down just a bit. But either way guys, that is going to be about it for this video. There you have it, a whole bunch of changes coming out. Again, we have the massive crit AD carry rework coming out. We have a mini rework coming out for Aurelia as well, and Riot is also working on a mini rework for Vi, though it did get cancelled for this patch because they want to test it a little bit more. But either way guys, let me know what you think about these changes down below. Let me know if you think this will bring back the AD carry role to its former glory or not. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button, share with your friends, subscribe if you haven't, check out my other videos as well. But thank you all so much for being here, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.